I flew halfway around the world, 13 hours in the air, just to surprise my mom for Thanksgiving. I'd finally finished paying off her $60,000 mortgage and thought showing up would be the cherry on top. Instead, she called security on me. Dead serious. She looked me in the eyes and said, "Surprises are for people who belong." And I didn't say a damn thing. I just turned around and walked away, suitcase trailing behind me. That night, sitting alone in my hotel room, I tapped one button. Just one. And that simple move kicked off something none of them ever saw coming. She said it again, "Surprises are for people who belong here," but the way she looked at me, it cut deep. Like I was just some random guy knocking on her door, not her own son. Not the kid who used to mow lawns in the blazing heat just so we could keep the lights on. Not the man who emptied his savings account to pay off her mortgage so she could finally stop working and breathe a little. No, at that moment I wasn't family. I was a problem. And that's when she waved over security. I hadn't seen my mom in more than 2 years. Work kept me constantly on the move, long hours, international flights, grinding to build a startup from nothing. Still, I never stopped showing up for her. I sent money when she needed it for repairs, rent, whatever. Last spring, I even cleared her mortgage in full without saying a word. I thought that was the grand gesture. Freedom. Security. A life without bills hanging over her head. But after the bank confirmed it, I never got so much as a text. Not a single thank you, no check-in, not even a how's Zurich. I figured maybe she was caught up in life. Maybe overwhelmed. So when Thanksgiving came around and I finally had a few days to breathe, I decided to do something big. I booked a flight out of Zurich, layovers, delays, the whole thing, just to show up on her doorstep. I carried a bouquet of her favorite yellow roses and brought a pumpkin pie from the bakery she used to love when we lived back home. As the taxi rolled up to her house, I felt that same mix of nerves and hope I used to get as a kid on Christmas morning. I walked up to the front door, heart pounding, flowers in hand. I rang the bell. I heard footsteps inside. And then there she was. My mom. Just as I remembered. Hair pulled up neat in her signature bun, glasses low on her nose, wrapped tight in one of her cardigans like she was bracing for a storm. But her eyes? They didn't soften. Her expression went stiff. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice sharp like cold steel. "Just thought I'd surprise you," I said with a smile. "It's Thanksgiving." She looked over her shoulder, and that's when I caught it, laughter inside, voices I knew too well. My brother, my sister, their spouses, their kids. A full-on family gathering. One I wasn't even invited to. "I flew all this way just to see you," I said, trying to hold back the tight knot forming in my chest. "You should have called. I wanted it to be a surprise." She stepped outside and closed the door behind her like she was trying to shut me out physically and emotionally. "Surprises," she said slowly, "are for people who belong." I froze. Then she waved over a man standing near the gate. "Security. A hired guard at the family Thanksgiving." "He's not welcome," she told him. I didn't say a word. Didn't argue. The security guy looked uncomfortable, like he was waiting for me to explode. But I just gave him a nod and walked off. Dragged my suitcase down the street with one hand, pie and roses still in the other. I didn't even glance back. That night, sitting alone in a quiet hotel room, I pulled out my laptop and hit one button. That's all it took to set something in motion none of them were ready for. But the truth is, Thanksgiving wasn't where it began. This had been building for years, I just didn't want to see it. When my dad passed away 5 years ago, everything started shifting. Not like a bomb going off, more like a slow leak. A faucet dripping until the damage was too deep to fix. Back then, I did everything I could to keep Mom afloat. She was a wreck, crying every night, barely able to function. I flew back home, took unpaid time off, paid the mortgage, arranged the funeral. I didn't ask for anything. I was the dependable one. The fixer. The good son. And for a while, she made me feel like it mattered. She used to call me her rock. Meanwhile, my siblings, Mary and Kevin, stood on the sidelines. Kevin wrote a heartfelt post on Facebook about Dad while I was cleaning out the garage by myself. Mary cried through the funeral, then dipped out early because she had some yoga retreat in Tulum she couldn't miss. Still, I gave them grace. It's grief, I told myself. People act weird. Give them time. Then came the favors. Harmless at first. Can you help with the water bill? Mary's car needed repairs. Kevin's startup hit a rough patch, just a temporary loan. I kept saying yes. Over and over. Because that's what family does, right? What I didn't see then was that this wasn't family leaning on me. They were building something, a system. I was the bank and they were the VIPs. 2 years back, I paid off Mary's credit card debt. $9 grand. She cried on the phone, told me I'd saved her. A month later, she's posting photos from a beachfront Airbnb with the caption, "Manifesting Luxury." Then Kevin needed $5,000 to launch a digital art gallery. "NFTs are the future," he said. I never saw the money again. Never saw a gallery either. And Mom? She played it like she was innocent, like she didn't know what was going on. But she was the one behind the curtain pulling the strings. She'd forward me Venmo requests with sad emojis. She conveniently forgot to tell me she'd co-signed Kevin's third loan using my name until the debt collectors started calling me overseas. I confronted her once. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't want to worry you," she said. "You're always the strong one." And for a second, I almost bought it. Then, 3 months before Thanksgiving, I got a call from the bank. "Congratulations," the woman said. "Your mortgage is paid off. Zero balance." I blinked. "What mortgage?" "The one for the house in Pennsylvania. Mrs. Jeffrey's residence." My mom's house. I'd set it up a year earlier after she broke down crying about late bills. For $1,800 a month. Quiet payments, never mentioned them. All in, $58,000. I imagined her finding out and breaking down again, but this time with happy tears. She never even picked up the phone. Instead, 2 days later, I got a text from Mary. "Hey, Mom says the house is paid off. Guess that means you've got cash now. Kevin needs help covering rent in LA. No thank you." Not even a word. That moment, when I walked away from the porch and back into the cold, it didn't hit me like a thunderclap. No shouting, no dramatic breakdown. It was quiet. Like something inside me just snapped. Not from anger, but from clarity. I realized I wasn't their family, not really. I was more like a position they'd filled. Their personal banker. A walking, talking line of credit. I stopped replying to their messages. But they didn't stop sending them. Kevin emailed me a Google Doc titled Family Support Spreadsheet. I'm not joking, it had quarterly suggested contributions from me, like I was part of some board meeting for their lifestyle expenses. Mary sent over screenshots of Paris flights, asking if I could spot her the miles as a gift. Mom forwarded me a quote for a $22,000 kitchen remodel with the subject line, "You always said you wanted me to be comfortable." Not a single person asked how I was holding up. Nobody knew I was dealing with brutal insomnia. That I hadn't had a vacation in over 3 years. That my startup was bleeding money and I'd been skipping my own paychecks just to keep my team from getting laid off. They didn't ask because they didn't give a damn. The only time Mom called that month was because her Amazon order didn't go through. "Your card must have expired," she said, irritated. That was the greeting. No, hi, no, how are you? Just your card. And that's when I started planning. The surprise visit. I thought maybe if I showed up in person, it would shift something. Shake her awake. Remind her that I'm more than just a credit score and a transaction history. That I'm her son. That I'm a real person. I didn't tell a soul. I just booked the ticket, grabbed the roses, brought the pie, rented a quiet Airbnb a few blocks away. But when she opened the door and saw me, all she said was, "Surprises are for people who belong." Then she turned around and summoned a security guard like I was some trespasser. Back at the Airbnb that night, I was shaking. Not from sadness, rage. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. My chest felt like it was about to crack open. I paced the floor for an hour, heart pounding. Then finally, I sat down, pulled out my phone, and hit a single button. I posted. Not just some throwaway tweet, I laid it all out. I uploaded screenshots, emails, the spreadsheet, everything, names blurred but truth intact. I wrote like my life depended on it. 5 straight hours of pouring out years of frustration. I didn't care about the backlash. Here's what I wrote. I paid off my mom's $58,000 mortgage. Flew 13 hours to surprise her for Thanksgiving. She called security and said, "Surprises are for people who belong." I said nothing. Just left. But that night, I pressed one button and started something none of them saw coming. By morning, the post had exploded. 50,000 likes in 6 hours. People flooded the replies calling me brave. Total strangers opened up with their own stories, abuse, manipulation, families who treated them like tools. Therapists quoted it. Influencers slid into my DMs. Even a celeb retweeted it. Blood doesn't give people the right to use you. Mary texted me. "Are you out of your mind? Take that down." Kevin followed with 3 messages in a row. "Dude, what the hell? You're destroying Mom's name. This is so petty." And then finally Mom called. I didn't pick up. 3 days passed. I kept silent. Ignored them all. But the messages didn't stop, they just got louder. Angrier. Then desperate. "You've embarrassed the whole family. This isn't how adults handle things. Take it down or don't bother coming back home ever again." As if I was planning to. But I wasn't finished either. On the fourth day, Mom sent me a voice note. Her tone was syrupy sweet, but there was venom under it. A kind of polished cruelty she'd mastered over the years. Honey, I'm trying to be the grown-up here. Clearly, you're upset. Fine. You've made your point. Now clean it up. Mary's job is in jeopardy. Kevin's landlord saw your post and is threatening to evict him. And well, folks from church are calling me. She paused, letting it sink in. Is this what you wanted? To publicly shame your own mother? I stared at the phone for a long time. Then I called her. She answered on the first ring. Oh, so now you're ready to talk? I'm coming over, I said. She sounded nervous. Wait, what do you mean, coming over? I mean unlock the door, I said, and hung up. I showed up 30 minutes later. Same front porch. But it didn't feel like I was coming home, it felt like walking onto a battlefield. Kevin's car was parked out front. Mary's SUV, too. Good. I wanted them there. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Her jaw was clenched. Arms folded like a guard dog. Mary hovered on the stairs, glaring like I was the problem. Kevin leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, smug as ever. You here to apologize? Mary snapped. Sit down, I said. No one moved. I said it again, firmer. Sit down. They sat. I pulled a folder from my bag, actual paper. Not digital, not theoretical. Hard copies. Printed bank statements, screenshots, emails, wire transfers. 6 years' worth. This, I said, laying it on the table, is every penny I've ever given this family. Mom glanced at it, then looked away. You think I embarrassed you online? I said. I've spent years cleaning up your messes in silence while you laughed about me behind my back. You know what's actually humiliating? That it took a viral tweet for any of you to realize how gross this whole setup has been. Kevin rolled his eyes. You acted like you were helping. No one forced you. I didn't offer, I was manipulated. My voice was sharp now. Every single time you played the We're Family card like it was a coupon for free cash. But when I showed up at the door, not with bills, not with demands, just with pie and flowers, you called insecurity. Mom's voice cracked. You made us look bad. I turned to her. My whole body was burning. No. You did that. I paid off your mortgage $58,000. And you couldn't even send a damn text. You planned a Thanksgiving dinner for everyone but me. You acted like I didn't even exist. She curled her lips. You always play the victim. I laughed, bitter and tired. No. I played the son. And you treated me like a business investment. The moment I stopped producing, you shut the door. Mary slammed her glass down. You're not better than us just because you have more money. No, Mary. I'm not some saint, I said, shaking my head. But I'm also not your personal ATM. Kevin pushed back his chair, puffed out his chest, trying to loom over me like that would make his point hit harder. So what money makes you better than us now? I stood up too, met his gaze without flinching. No. But it sure as hell made me see things a lot more clearly. And then I dropped the hammer. I've talked to a lawyer. Silence dropped over the room like a curtain. Mom blinked like she hadn't heard me right. A lawyer? For what? I pulled out another envelope, this one thinner but heavier with meaning. Remember how you co-signed Kevin's loan without telling me? That's financial fraud. Kevin turned pale like someone had pulled the plug on him. I'm not pressing charges, I said. At least, not today. But I had the loan reassigned. It's in your name now, Kevin. All yours. You're welcome. He opened his mouth, thought better of it, then sat down like his legs gave out. Mary looked at me like I'd grown horns. You're being vindictive. This is petty. No, I said calmly. I'm finally setting boundaries. I looked around the table. Mom was tight-lipped. Mary looked furious. Kevin looked broken. This was never about money, I said. This was always about respect. And none of you ever gave me a shred of it. Mom let out the slow, disapproving sigh like I was a teenager throwing a tantrum. Well, you've made your point. Are you happy now? No, I said, grabbing my phone. But I will be. I opened my banking app right there at the table. One tap done. Transfers canceled. Recurring payments gone. Apple Pay disconnected from Mom's Amazon. Kevin's backup card info removed. No drama, no speech. Just clean, surgical separation. Then I smiled. Happy Thanksgiving. And I walked out. But this time I didn't leave quietly, not on the inside. When I stepped off that porch for the second time, I didn't cry. I didn't freeze up. I didn't second-guess myself. Whatever part of me that used to ache for their approval, for their warmth, that part had burned out. And what rose up in its place wasn't sadness. It was clarity. I was done. Done being the dependable one. Done being the strong one who quietly bled out while they smiled and passed the gravy. Back at the Airbnb, I poured myself a whiskey and turned my phone off. Notifications were still flooding in. My post had passed 100,000 shares. Strangers all over the world were messaging me, cheering me on. Therapists were writing threads breaking down toxic family dynamics. Reporters were reaching out for interviews. But there was one comment that stopped me cold. The people who say you're cruel are the ones who fed off your silence. I read that line 10 times. Because it was true. The next morning, I boarded my flight back to Zurich. And as the plane lifted off, so did that crushing weight on my chest. For the first time in years, I wasn't calculating how much money I had left to lend. I wasn't checking my phone for a fake emergency masked as a Venmo request. I just looked out the window and finally let myself breathe. Silence. Real, actual silence. No passive-aggressive texts from Mom. No guilt-tripping from Mary. No, bro, just one more favor from Kevin. But not because they suddenly stopped trying. I had blocked every last one of them. That first week back felt almost surreal. I kept waiting for the guilt to sneak up on me. I figured it'd come for me at night, sneaky, twisting my insides while I tried to sleep. It never did. What I felt instead was peace. I focused on work without interruptions. Slept through the night for the first time in I don't know how long. Took a random 2 a.m. walk under the city lights just because I could. I even booked a solo weekend in the Alps. Nothing extravagant, just something I used to think I couldn't afford, even though the truth was I just didn't think I deserved it. But here's the thing about dysfunction, it doesn't go down easy. 2 weeks in, Mary tried to spin her own version of events. She posted some thinly veiled Facebook status, family shouldn't be transactional. Her friends chimed in, clapping emojis, praising her strength. Unfortunately for her, the internet has receipts. Screenshots surfaced. Old messages where she joked about bleeding her rich brother dry. She deleted the post in under a day. Kevin didn't make any moves online, but I knew he was spiraling. That's when I got a call from a blocked number. It was his boss. I've got to ask, he said, voice uncertain. We found this thread that might involve your family. Is it true? I didn't lie. But I didn't protect him either. Kevin got fired that same week. Mom? She went full martyr mode. Word got back to me that she was telling people I'd turned on the family. Held another Thanksgiving dinner, same house, same table, same turkey, but thinner guest list. Someone sent me a picture. She looked tired. Deflated. And for once, nobody was performing. Then something happened that blindsided me. People started reaching out not to shame me but to thank me. An aunt I hadn't spoken to since I was a kid messaged me, I always knew you had backbone. I just didn't realize how much they were putting on you. A cousin from Ohio wrote, I cried reading your post. I'm living that same story with my folks. You gave me the guts to speak up. And then the one that floored me, Mom's own sister. A woman she hadn't talked to in over 10 years. She did the same thing to me, she said. But I wasn't strong enough to walk away. You were. That's when I understood. I hadn't shattered the family. I just pulled back the curtain on a mess that was already rotting underneath. It was never about the money. It was about the expectations, the manipulation, the way they only acted like a family when they had something to gain. Without me funding the illusion, it all crumbled. I was the glue, and when I stepped away, the cracks finally split wide open. And then, 3 weeks later, came the last surprise. I was at work when my assistant popped her head in. Someone's downstairs asking to see you, she said. He says he's your brother. I froze. Which one? She looked confused. He didn't say. But he looks rough. It was Kevin. He was waiting in the lobby, slouched, arms folded like he was holding himself together by a thread. His clothes hung looser. His face looked hollow. No swagger. No charm. Just wreckage. He looked up. I messed up. No excuses. No attacks. Just that. 3 words. I didn't say anything. He swallowed hard. I lost my job. Mary won't return my texts. Mom's acting like she's the one who got stabbed in the back. I just stood there. Watching. Waiting. Kevin stood there, shifting from foot to foot like the floor might swallow him whole. I know I can't undo it, he said. But I needed to tell you something. He handed me his phone. It was a screenshot of the loan, the same one he'd roped me into with Mom's help without even asking. The balance read, $0. He'd paid it off. No lifeline from Mary. No gilt-laced pitch from Mom. Just him owning it. I'm trying to clean up what I can, he said. I'm not here for forgiveness. I'm just here to say I'm sorry. I didn't give him a speech. Didn't pat him on the back. Didn't well up or wrap him in some movie scene hug. But I gave him a nod. And that was enough. I never set foot back in that house again. Not at Christmas. Not for birthdays. Not even when Mom sent a crooked, blurry photo of a dusty family album with a one-liner, some memories are priceless. I didn't reply. And the wildest part? I didn't feel bad. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't defending myself for stepping away. I wasn't untangling accusations. I wasn't trying to make anyone understand. I wasn't the villain in the story, I was just the guy who finally stopped pouring himself into people who treated it like tap water. Growing up, I thought family meant love without strings. Turns out, some families just mean unlimited access. To your time. To your energy. To your bank account. To your silence. And the second you take that away, they don't miss you. They miss the convenience. The service. The easy handouts. Mom didn't lose her son, she lost her bill payer. Mary didn't lose her brother, she lost her free upgrades and spare change. Kevin, he only saw it because, for once, no one caught him when he fell. I always had. Not this time. And the last thing Mom ever texted me before I cut the line for good? You've always been the difficult one. If you just tried harder, maybe we wouldn't be in this mess. Tried harder? I damn near bankrolled 3 separate adult lives while juggling my own, and somehow I was the selfish one? I didn't just try. I sacrificed. Over and over. Until the only thing I had left to give was the version of myself who never said no. And when I finally did, they called it betrayal. But here's the truth they'll never admit, not even to themselves. They depended on me more than I ever relied on them. Because now, I'm good. I sleep in peace. I hike without checking my phone. I buy groceries I actually want to eat. I take time off without bracing for a family crisis that lands in my inbox with a $sign attached. I've got a trip planned next spring. No emergencies on the calendar. No hidden bills waiting for me in the mail. No guilt. People sometimes ask if I regret putting all of it out there. The story. The thread. The fallout. Not even close. Sometimes the only thing people like that understand is public accountability. Not kindness. Not patience. Just the sound of the world finally seeing the mask slip. They didn't care when I was quietly falling apart. But the moment I stood up and said no more, they acted like I burned down the house. But I didn't. I just walked out. And I took the blueprint with me. They didn't lose their son, their brother. They lost the version of me that never said no. I didn't burn bridges. I just stopped laying the bricks by myself. If they want to reach me now, let them build their own damn road. Let them show up for someone else. Let them give without expecting a refill. I'm done bleeding for people who only call when they're thirsty.